The Real Secret of Change, a powerful motivational script about discipline, consistency, and becoming unstoppable. There's a moment in everyone's life when they quietly ask themselves a question they're almost afraid to say out loud. What if I'm capable of more? Not more money, not more attention, not more followers. More purpose, more strength, more meaning, more life. Because deep down, every human being feels it. That restless voice inside whispering, "You were made for something greater." But here's the painful truth. Most people never become who they were meant to be. Not because they're untalented, not because they're unlucky, not because they don't dream big enough. They fail because they never master the one thing that changes everything. And no, it's not motivation, it's not confidence, it's not intelligence, it's not even opportunity. The real secret of change is far less exciting and far more powerful. It's the habit of showing up every single day, especially when you don't feel like it. That's it. That's the difference between people who talk about dreams and people who build them. That's the difference between wishing and becoming, between surviving and transforming. And today, I want you to understand something that could completely shift the direction of your life. Your future is not built in one giant moment. It's built in the small decisions nobody sees. The mornings you wake up tired but keep going anyway. The nights you work while others make excuses. The moments you choose discipline instead of comfort. The moments you keep moving when results are invisible. That is where transformation begins. Not in hype, not in motivation, but in consistency. Because success is never owned overnight. It's rented daily. And the rent is due every morning. Most people are waiting for the perfect moment to begin. They tell themselves, "I'll start when I feel confident. I'll start when life calms down. I'll start when I know exactly what I'm doing." But life doesn't wait. Time keeps moving. Days become months. Months become years. And eventually people wake up wondering where their potential went. The truth is, clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Confidence doesn't appear before you begin. It grows because you begin. And courage? Courage is built every time you show up despite fear. That's why the people who change their lives are not always the smartest people in the room. They're simply the people who refuse to quit. You see, the world has become addicted to intensity. Everybody wants fast results, instant success, overnight transformations. People want six-pack abs in 30 days, million-dollar businesses in 1 year, perfect lives without pain. But real growth doesn't happen like that. Nature itself teaches patience. A tree doesn't become strong overnight. A diamond isn't formed instantly. Muscles don't grow after one workout, and character is never built in comfort. Everything meaningful takes time, yet most people give up too early because they mistake slow progress for failure. Listen carefully. Just because results are invisible doesn't mean growth isn't happening. Sometimes you're building roots before anyone sees the tree, and that's the stage where most people quit. They stop because nobody applauds consistency in the beginning. Nobody notices the early mornings. Nobody celebrates discipline. Nobody claps for repetition. But repetition is where greatness is born. Every master was once a beginner who refused to stop practicing. Every successful person you admire became powerful through routine long before recognition arrived. The athlete, the entrepreneur, the artist, the leader. What separates them is not perfection, it's persistence. They kept showing up long after excitement disappeared. And that is the habit that changes everything. I remember a season in my life when nothing seemed to work. Doors kept closing, plans kept failing. I doubted myself constantly. There were mornings I woke up exhausted, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Moments where quitting felt easier than continuing. And honestly, nobody would have blamed me if I stopped. But something inside me refused to surrender. Not because I felt motivated, because I made a decision. A decision to keep showing up no matter how uncertain life became. Some days my effort was powerful. Some days it was messy. Some days all I could do was take one small step forward. But I learned something during that season. Tiny steps still move you forward. And over time, those tiny steps create momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates belief. Belief creates transformation. That's why consistency is more powerful than intensity. Anyone can be intense for one day. Anyone can grind for a weekend. Anyone can feel inspired after watching a motivational video. But can you stay committed when nobody is watching? Can you keep going when progress feels slow? Can you remain disciplined when emotions disappear? That is the real test. Because motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like weather. One day you feel unstoppable. The next day you feel lost. If your life depends on motivation, your progress will always be unstable. But discipline? Discipline changes everything. Discipline says, I will do what needs to be done even when I don't feel like doing it. That mindset is powerful. Because the moment you stop negotiating with your excuses, your life begins to change. Most people treat discipline like punishment. But discipline is freedom. It frees you from procrastination. It frees you from regret. It frees you from becoming controlled by temporary emotions. Without discipline, your mood controls your future. With discipline, your values control your future. And there's a massive difference between those two lives. One leads to chaos, the other leads to growth. Think about the strongest people you know. Not the loudest, not the most talented, the strongest. What makes them different? It's not that life was easier for them. It's that they developed the ability to keep moving forward, even when life became difficult. They trained themselves to act despite discomfort. And that's what discipline really is. Not perfection. Consistency under pressure. There will be days when your dream feels impossible. Days when rejection crushes your confidence. Days when failure embarrasses you. Days when people doubt your ability. And in those moments, discipline becomes your anchor. Because when emotions become unstable, habits keep you grounded. That's why your daily routine matters more than your temporary feelings. The small actions you repeat every day eventually shape your identity. If you consistently procrastinate, you become someone who avoids growth. If you consistently show up, you become someone who trusts themselves, and self-trust changes everything. There is something powerful about knowing you can rely on yourself, knowing that no matter how hard life gets, you will still stand up and continue. That inner confidence cannot be bought. It is earned through consistency, one promise kept at a time. Most people think confidence comes before action, but real confidence comes after action. You build confidence by proving to yourself that you can continue even when things are hard. That's why successful people often seem calm under pressure, because they've survived difficult seasons before. Pain trained them, failure strengthened them, discipline prepared them. And this brings us to one of the hardest truths about growth. Setbacks are necessary. Nobody likes hearing that. We want success without struggle, victory without sacrifice, growth without pain. But life doesn't work that way. Every setback carries a lesson. Every failure reveals something you need to learn. Every disappointment exposes weakness that needs strengthening. Pain is uncomfortable, but pain is also a teacher. Some of the strongest people in the world were built through heartbreak, rejection, and failure. Not because suffering automatically creates greatness, but because they chose to grow instead of quit. That choice matters, because pain can either make you bitter or better. and the decision belongs to you. There was a time when rejection felt personal to me. Every failure made me question my worth. Every closed door made me doubt my future. But eventually I realized something life-changing. Failure is not proof that you're not good enough. It's proof that you're growing. Every successful person has failed repeatedly. The difference is they didn't let failure define them. They used it. They learned from it, adapted because of it, became stronger through it. That's why setbacks can become stepping stones. Because every obstacle carries hidden strength inside it. The struggle you survive today often becomes the wisdom you share tomorrow. And one day, you'll look back at the pain you once hated and realize it built the strongest parts of you. Life has a strange way of preparing people through difficulty. The storm develops the roots, the pressure creates resilience, the battle reveals character. That's why you must stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Because growth begins the moment pain becomes purpose. The strongest people are not people who never fall. They are people who refuse to stay down. And every time you rise again, you build a more powerful version of yourself, a wiser version, a tougher version, a braver version. That's why resilience matters more than perfection. Perfection is impossible. Resilience is transformational. The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who keep going. And another reason so many people stay stuck is because they spend their lives chasing someone else's definition of success. They compare timelines, compare income, compare appearances, compare achievements. Social media has turned comparison into a daily habit. People constantly feel behind because they're measuring their lives against edited highlights. But comparison destroys peace, because no matter how far you go, there will always be someone ahead of you in something. And if your self-worth depends on comparison, you will never feel enough. That's why creating your own standard is so important. Stop asking, "What are other people doing?" Start asking, "Who am I becoming?" That question changes everything, because true growth is personal. Your path is unique. Your timing is unique. Your purpose is unique. Not everyone is supposed to succeed in the same way, and that's okay. The moment you stop chasing validation, you begin discovering freedom. You stop performing for applause. You stop shrinking to fit expectations. You stop betraying yourself just to be accepted. And slowly, you become authentic. There is incredible power in authenticity, because pretending is exhausting. Trying to fit into everyone else's expectations drains your soul. But when you finally decide to become yourself fully, something shifts inside you. You stop seeking permission to exist. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. And you begin living with alignment. That's where peace comes from. Not from pleasing everyone, but from respecting yourself. Creating your own standard also means raising your expectations for your life. Not in arrogance, in self-respect. It means refusing to settle for habits, environments, or relationships that continuously pull you away from your growth, because your environment influences your future more than you realize. Energy is contagious. If you surround yourself with negativity, excuses become normal. If you surround yourself with growth, discipline becomes natural. That's why protecting your mindset matters. Your mind is a garden, and whatever you feed consistently will grow. Feed fear, and anxiety grows. Feed excuses, and weakness grows. Feed discipline, and strength grows. Feed purpose, and transformation begins. Every day you are becoming someone. The question is, who? Because identity is not built in giant moments, it's built through repeated behavior. Every action casts a vote for the person you're becoming. Every workout says, I am disciplined. Every book says, I am learning. Every promise kept says, I trust myself. Small habits create identity, and identity creates destiny. That's why your daily routine is more important than your occasional intensity. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Goals inspire you briefly. Habits shape you permanently. So if you truly want to change your life, stop obsessing over massive overnight transformation. Focus on daily standards. Wake up earlier, read more, train consistently, protect your peace, speak to yourself with strength. Keep promises to yourself. Stay disciplined when nobody is watching. Those habits may seem small, but small habits repeated over time create extraordinary lives. The problem is, people underestimate the power of repetition. They think success requires giant actions, but life changes through accumulation. One disciplined morning, one better decision, one extra effort, one more attempt. Eventually, those small moments compound into a completely different future. That's how greatness is built. Quietly, patiently, daily. And one day, the same people who ignored your consistency will suddenly call you lucky. They'll see the success, but not the sacrifice. The confidence, but not the struggle. The results, but not the repetition. Because most people only notice the outcome. They don't see the years of invisible work behind it. But you will know. You will know how many times you wanted to quit, how many mornings required discipline, how many setbacks forced growth, how many lonely seasons tested your faith. And that's what makes the victory meaningful. Because anything built quickly can collapse quickly. But something built slowly with discipline becomes strong. Real success is not built on hype. It's built on character. Character is who you are when nobody is watching. It's how you behave when life becomes difficult, how you respond to failure, how you treat people without needing recognition. And character is developed through consistency. That's why the habit of showing up changes more than your results. It changes you. You become mentally stronger, emotionally tougher, spiritually deeper. You stop fearing discomfort because discomfort becomes familiar. And eventually, the things that once intimidated you become normal. That's how growth works. What feels impossible today becomes manageable tomorrow through repetition. But you must keep going long enough to experience the transformation. Most people quit during the uncomfortable stage, the stage where effort feels invisible, the stage where growth is happening internally before results appear externally. But that stage matters, because before life changes around you, something must change within you. And that internal transformation is where everything begins. So if you feel tired right now, keep going. If progress feels slow, keep going. If nobody believes in you yet, keep going. Because your future is being built in moments nobody else can see. And one day, all the discipline, consistency, sacrifice, and pain will make sense. One day you'll realize you weren't failing, you were becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming capable of carrying the life you once prayed for. Remember this, the life you want will demand a version of you that doesn't exist yet. That version is created through habits, through discipline, through consistency, through resilience. Not overnight, but daily. So stop waiting for motivation. Build routines instead. Stop chasing perfection. Focus on progress instead. Stop comparing your journey. Honor your growth instead. And most importantly, keep showing up. Show up when it's easy. Show up when it's hard. Show up when nobody notices. Show up when doubt fills your mind. Show up when fear tells you to stop. Because every time you continue despite discomfort, you become more powerful than the person you were yesterday. That is the real secret of change. Not talent, not luck, not perfect timing. The habit of showing up consistently until your dreams no longer remain dreams. And if you do that long enough, your entire life will transform, one disciplined day at a time.